the Isle of Siptah introduces a whole new way of playing Conan Exiles. With new environments, creatures, mounts, and new materials for the cities of your dreams. Explore dark dungeons and uncover the mysteries of the island's black heart. Shipwrecked, starving, and thirsty, you must learn to survive on the mysterious Isle of Siptah. Explore the landscape, from wreck-strewn beaches and hidden coves to dense forests and ancient ruins. Fight the savage beasts that inhabit the island. Scout the island on horseback, or charge headlong into the fight on the back of the new rhinoceros. Salvage shipwrecks to build your first shelter, and take advantage of mighty redwoods for added protection. But beware, for a vicious storm rages at the heart of the island, and otherworldly horrors stalk within. Traveling or building within the storm will attract the attention of powerful enemies from the outer void. Inspired by the ancient structures of the island, you can construct a mighty fortress and strike forth from a bastion of strength. In the struggle for dominance with other castaways, you will need Thralls to fuel your war machine. Unlocking the mysteries of the island are the keys to its domination and the key to getting Thralls. Explore and fight your way through ancient vaults, the last bastions of the elder races, and uncover their knowledge. In the depths of the vaults, you will discover great treasures and sigils of power. Surges of wild sorcery erupt from the Black Tower at the heart of the island, which summon groups of humans to the island. You must defeat many enemies before you can capture some as Thralls, but be ready to defend yourself from challengers. The battle for control will be ruthless, and only the strongest will survive.
Hello Exiles and welcome to our Conan Exiles developer Q&A. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are. I hope you are safe and sound during these chaotic times. Hello to YouTube, to Steam, to where do we stream? We're on Twitch, we are on Periscope, Twitter, I think Facebook, I'm actually not 100% sure. But no matter where you are, we really appreciate you joining us tonight. So how this will work is we collected your questions from our forums and from Reddit. We make dedicated threads there where you can post your questions. We'll collect those. Thank you so much to the community team for collecting those many questions. And we will go over them tonight in stream. We hope we can answer as many as possible. So stay tuned because we have some really cool, exciting guests with us tonight. I'm very happy to be joined by Scott and Alex for answering those questions. Hello, you two in Oslo. How are you?
Hello.
It's good
Doing
to
pretty
see you. It's good to see you. We have a lot of questions to go through, and it's really nice to see you again, Alex. I think a few of our reviewers were a little bit worried when Dennis was introduced as lead designer of Conan Exiles last time. I was like, where's Alex? Is he still with Funcom?
Yeah, the
And
rumor was you got fired, right?
yeah.
The Dodge nerf didn't we
It's
fire
the
you?
oh no, let's not go there. Let's not go there. Anyway, let's dive right into it. As I mentioned, we collected your questions from our official forums and from the Reddit thread that we posted beforehand and did a call to action for you to post your questions. There was many questions, and we categorized them a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the top questions that have been asked. And the very top of that list, as you're probably very aware, Scott and Alex, is: will it be possible to travel between the Exiled Lands, the base game, and Isle of Siptah, the new expansion?
Yeah, so this is something we are working on. It is something we wanted originally for when we planned to actually launch the game. And one of the reasons why we went with early access first, since the feature was not ready yet. So it is in active development. There are coders working on it right now. It requires a lot of testing to make sure it works properly. We also need to get a lot of systems in place to make sure that no hiccups happen as far as moving one character from one location to the next and from one server to the next. So something we're working on. When we have details more ironed out, we will get it to Test Live, have it available for testing, making sure it's fine, and then release it to our players.
That's awesome.
So it'll be there by early next year, hopefully sooner.
You heard it. You heard it here first, chat. It's in the works. We've seen, of course, your questions about this, and it was literally the most asked questions. Not surprisingly so. All right, let's move on. Are there plans to extend the map of Siptah with no biomes like we did with the Exile Lands?
Are there plans?
Are there plans?
Are there plans?
I think I said something about it in the producer letter on Friday, right?
You did. Yeah.
So biomes are tricky, right? The Exile Lands is very unique because we have a wide-ranging biomes in that map. When we made Siptah, it's an actual location, right? So it's on it's basically the equator, just off the coast of Africa. So it's a little bit harder to have the variety of biomes that we have, just if we want to keep lore consistent. But we are working on some stuff as far as land expansion and adding some new content locations, similar to what we did with the Exile Lands.
There is new exciting stuff coming, at least. Biomes, maybe something else. All right. What are plans for changes before Siptah is officially released? That goes a little bit into the same thing, I guess, but yeah. Yeah,
so we have 3 major updates planned. The first one is it's sort of like an economy update, is what we're calling it internally. So this includes some. Do you want to talk just high level?
Absolutely.
Don't go too deep.
High level, high level, Alex. Keep it high level.
The goal of this update is to smooth out the player's progression through the economy system, and to give players both vertical progression through the economy and horizontal options at specifically the end game. This will allow players to much more engage with the thralls that they collect, and have more precise control about the output of those thralls, specifically for the armors, for the different weapons.
It also, one of the things when we were testing Siptah, it is harder to get thralls in Siptah. It's something we know. It's feedback we've gotten internally, feedback we got in the beta, and so we do want to address that, but not by really changing the Siptah mechanics too much, but changing sort of the approach players and the haves and the have-nots, sort of.
So it's not as stuck. It's not either feast or complete famine in terms of being able to build things, being able to access things.
Yeah, so that's part of it. The other one is character recustomization, which will hopefully also happen in the first patch. Disclaimer, since stuff is under development, not everything might be in the first patch. So if we hit some hurdles along the way, maybe it goes to the next major patch. But I think there's a question later, so I'm not going to talk about character recustomization.
Yes,
right?
exactly. There's actually additional things. So
And after that, we have 2 other updates planned. We cannot go into details right now, just because they're too early in development. But we plan to have several beats that lead us up to full launch, which will have the full feature set that we wanted to have when we originally started work on this.
I like it how safe you are with these answers.
I am
It's
so-
extremely
well,
diplomatic.
there's a few more detailed questions coming up down the line, so no worries, no worries. There's that. I think he just doesn't want to like shoot all the ammunition out right now at the beginning.
Boring.
Yeah. I have nothing else to talk about. So next one, any plans to add more NPC encampments and interaction on Siptah? Also a very hot topic.
Do you want to have a go?
I mean, this is your baby,
so
right?
so the Siptah experience is meant to be a different experience to the Exile lands, and we don't want to dilute that by simply adding camps that players can go to and potentially not experience the dynamic content that Siptah provides for. We have a couple of solutions for it. This is why we had to go into early access to be able to really fine-tune these mechanics and see where the holes in our ideas are, and to patch them, and so that it holistically provides content for people of all play styles, whether you're extreme one way or an extreme on the other way, whether you're an RP server or PvE server, PvEC server, or a full-on PvP server. We have a plan in the works. I don't want to talk about it too much as well, but it will address some of these issues. We had we had a patch plan for today. Things didn't go that well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, we'll see what happens in the next couple of days. Not those fixes are not in that patch, but some of the addressing things are there.
Yeah,
I think
players.
I think the important part here is that we've seen that specific group of players feel that the map is a little bit more sided to another group they don't feel part of, and we've seen those concerns and we are looking into them. I think that's the most important takeaway here.
Yeah, and we want to make sure we address this without ruining the things in Siptah that make it unique.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's that's what early access is for. So we can release new features, test them with the community, and then come up with a better solution at the very end.
Yeah, so make sure you keep that feedback coming because we really appreciate it. All right, so will we add more caves on Siptah? People like caves.
There'll be more caves.
Maybe. They're probably not to the extent that there are in Exiled lands. We tried something different with some of the caves on Siptah. You can actually build in a lot of them, which I don't know if everybody knows about yet. So you can make a base in the cave system. That's why some of them are empty, just because we want you to go in there and make your little pirate cove.
I haven't actually seen anyone do that, surprisingly enough, because I've been on the lookout for that. I haven't seen anyone do that yet.
I think we gave that away. People didn't know about it yet.
Maybe.
Well, we don't have to spoil anything. So there's people are so creative. They will. I figured they will figure it out really fast, but I'm surprised I haven't seen anything yet. Might have missed it though. I mean, all right. Moving on. This one. So we mentioned it in the past as well, like a few days ago, I think, or maybe even in your in your producer. I'm not 100% sure, but the new customization. The new tell us about the new customization option or features that we're working on.
Recustomization.
So we are going to put we're going to put a way in game for people to essentially enter character creation, at least the UI again, so that you can change your head, your face, change your hair. There's certain things you won't be able to change. You won't be able to change your race. I do not believe we'll allow you to change your gender. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think so.
It's a Hyborian barber, basically, kind of.
Right. Yeah. So it's going to be a crafting bench that you interact with. The concepts look amazing so far. And then this will allow us to add additional customization options, which is something that the team is working on right now, with new beards, new hairstyles, new faces. And other things.
New tattoos and war paints.
Yeah.
All right. So also a question that has been coming up also in the past quite often. Are there any chances that we would implement a server queue system?
So we talked
I
about this.
really want this, right? But again, it's in terms of priorities. So it is definitely on our radar, because if you try, like we've seen with Siptah, our official server Siptahs, our official Siptah servers are very popular, and not having a server join queue makes joining a full server a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's something we're looking into. Yeah, it hasn't been started on development yet. We're still working on several issues with the server browser. I know lots of people have brought up the fact that pings seem to be higher. We're addressing that in the next patch a little bit by allowing a higher ping to connect, and then hopefully we'll have a solution and a hotfix either next week or sometime around there, where when you actually try to connect, we give you a little bit more of a realistic ping than what the server browser is showing right now.
9,999.
That's a different issue actually. Where
Oh, is it? Oh.
You actually can't ping that server for various reasons. Generally, it's due to a router combination or firewall, something like that, that's preventing it.
I remember.
But we are, as we find those, we are working on them. We tried to change as many as we could and do broad strokes fixes on it. So now it's a lot more individual fixes for certain setups.
Like more specific issues that are only occurring in like specific combinations, right? Yep.
Right, yeah.
All right, next one. It's a spicy one. Sorcery ?
Sorcery. I don't know really much about
It's like
sorcery.
unicorns.
So
unicorns.
Joel promised this. I think I was in the room when he did this in San Francisco in 2017, I think, at GDC. Maybe it's 2018.
No, that was way earlier. I think it was
That's like a
2016
different
or so. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, it's a feature I want to bring. It is not going to happen for Siptah. Sorry to ruin any people expecting that. It's not one of the features that is on the way to launch. So, yeah, we want Sorcery to be amazing. We want it to fit into the world of Howard and the Conan IP.
The lore, yeah.
The lore, right? Yeah. So it's the Sorcery is different. It's not your typical high fantasy, flying around with wings and shooting lightning bolts out of your hands. It'll be different in Conan, but yeah, it's something we want to do. And when I have more information, I will share it. I think that's about the most I can go into.
That's fair. I think that's fair. Like managing expectations as well. So there's this a Siptah. This is like one of the last of the top questions that are not console specific. We're going to console questions afterwards. I've seen chat already asking about consoles again as well. However, there's one more question that is Siptah related. Random wild searches are annoying with the RNG of spawned Thralls. Any plans to rebalance this?
Random wild surges are annoying with the RNG of Thralls. This is part of us addressing the play styles to cater for different people. The RNG will probably not be removed, but you'll be able to somehow control it a little bit better. We'll see exactly with which solution we end up with. Stay tuned.
Takeaway from here as well is that we are aware that people are that they're talking about this and that we are looking into options. All right, so now we have a few console-specific questions. When are we going to address issues with Xbox?
So we have a fix in testing, and hopefully we'll send it to certification soon. I assume this is in people asking about the crashes that increased when we released EPR 0.6. Yeah, so how we're going to address this first is memory optimizations. We had a lot of changes planned for that are in Siptah right now or coming out in the next patch. Since it is not on consoles yet, unfortunately, we couldn't release those. So some of our programmers have taken those from the Siptah build and integrated them into the console build. So I hope to get that out very soon.
I think that's really great news. And hopefully what the community wanted to hear as well. Are there any crossplay plans?
Crossplay?
between PC and
between
consoles.
PlayStation and Xbox and PC.
No,
Different platforms.
no crossplay planned, unfortunately. For platform specific, we would have crossplay if we release on a different store than Steam. Since that was rumored to happen at some point. If that happens, there will be crossplay.
So say people on one of the platforms and on Steam, for example. All right. Final launch date.
Early next year.
Yes, like we mentioned on our videos and in communications, that's all we can say for now. Early next year. Well, as soon as possible, obviously. All right. I think that goes a little bit into the what we already answered, but Kai on Fire is also asking, will console users be receiving any kind of new content or fixes between now and next year when the planned release is of Siptah?
Yeah, so when we are done with the firefighting of, it's not really firefighting, when we're done with the launch work, we have some plans to try to get the Siptah base version, so all the changes we've made, put to console. So I do not have a timetable for that yet, or time frame for it rather. But yeah, it will hopefully happen substantially before launch early next year.
So we haven't forgotten about you console players. It's just about prioritization and
we have not forgotten
assigning of assets.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going into a different topic. Alex, this is like questions about the recent healing changes.
Sure.
Any chance you could have player cancelled interruption of healing animations, even if it's limited using dodges?
I'll think about it.
Yeah, like
play with it for a little bit more. We'll see
I've seen several streamers. Go ahead, sorry.
We are looking into seeing how people are using them on the servers, and there's a couple of fixes coming out with the next patch that's unfortunately a wee bit delayed. So it'll be interesting to see how people end up using the ecosystem of healing post that patch. I'm going to stop there because I think there's another question coming about the next subject that I wanted to touch. Yeah,
but that's fair. I mean, we need to see, we need to simmer it, like we need to sink it in a little bit, right? So we can see how players actually use this. Whoa, my English just went totally out the window there. All right, I'm back. Oh, good. Would you consider reducing the weight of ally potions or creating additional tiers of aloe potions that produce more effective heals?
Think about it. This comes down to basically the combination of consumables you bring is your build. We need to see the effectiveness of players' builds in actual play during PvE and PvP and whatever else to see the final number that we land on. Obviously, the numbers that we have right now are subject to change based on feedback and playtesting. We will experiment and we'll see where we go.
Again, I think that's fair to just give it a little bit more time to feel what different builds will like do with the healing changes and everything. So I think it's a bit early to just do like big swooping changes, right? All right.
I get back a story. I can elaborate a little bit more, Natasha, where we consider the consumables you bring, especially the stuff in your hotbar, as a player choice of play style. So depending on your combination of attributes, armors, and gear, now also consumables are going to be part of that equation, because beforehand, like food was super lightweight and you had many stacks of. Therefore, it basically existed in a vacuum in addition to whatever else you brought, not as part of your kit.
Makes sense. Yep, absolutely. All right. This is another question. Del Rio Server Master. All those questions are actually from one specific community member. So these are really good questions too. Food has been massively nerfed to the point of why should I bother? Actually, that goes a little bit probably into what you just said, but I'm going to go into the question anyway. Would you consider dividing tiers of food into snacks and meals, where snacks, for example, berries, bugs, grubs, etc., could be eaten with a quick animation during combat to restore a small static amount of health, stamina, and meals would require a longer 3 to 5 second animation that quickly restores health but leaves you vulnerable?
I don't want to talk about specific. I guess everyone has read the letter that Scott put out, right? It clearly shows the intent behind of where we're trying to get to, right? So one of the unfortunate things is that the hunger and thirst system for a very long time was untouched and often skipped for improvement, right? So now that we have addressed the aspect of healing that was negatively impacting user experience and engagement with our content, we have removed that problem and are now facing another one, which is an old system that has not been updated for a while that really ought to be looked at. So for me, now that we're sort of addressing healing, we can put our attention on the food and the hunger and thirst system to make it much more engaging for players to interact with, where we will probably maintain the paradigm of in combat healing. This comes from potions. If you want out of combat healing but rapid, you use bandages. The problem is that now that we've fixed those aspects, food has lost its shine as a feature and system or set of items to the players. So we have to reinvigorate that shine in another method. And that other method is unlikely to be healing directly, much more, but it is more likely to be something along the lines that you handle on a intra-session cycle, where you handle it between your play sessions. Like if your play session is 1 or 2 hours, then you sit down, you do your cooking, you do your eating, you craft the items that you want, you prepare, then you go to adventure, and you don't have to think about food until you're back from your adventure. And that's where I think I would like to experiment with foods, hunger, and thirst specifically.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's just everything needs to be a little bit fall into place with each other and connect again with the new system. Like the next 2 questions are probably going into that as well. I like that you kind of covered that already, because you can answer that with the same explanation. One is here: could we get the soothing buff back as an aura from fireplaces, just to make home feel like home? Oh,
We'll think about it.
we'll think about it. All right, I like that. I like thinking about things. All right. And then do we have any plans on, well, that you kind of answered that though. Do we have any plans on further balancing the healing system that was put in place with this update?
We have plans to further balance the whole game.
Yes. So that's always, balancing is always an ongoing thing in any game. That is like like a long living game. So it's an online game. All right. Now we have PS5 questions.
All right.
Is the game going to be on PS5?
In some form, yeah. So probably with backwards compatibility.
Okay, that has been answering the next question has been answered already. Then not retro compatible. Is it going to be upgraded for PS5?
So probably not. It's something we'll consider, just depending on how things are going when the actual consoles come out. But yeah, it's for right now. I believe we're just first we're focused on getting Siptah working on consoles. After that, then we will consider what we do with things.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, now we're going into more Siptah related questions. This is actually something that was in the top questions too. Spawns in Exiled Lands are static, which leads to stale PvE gameplay. Plans to address this in Exiled Lands or Siptah?
This was actually one of the biggest, one of the most interesting reasons for us to experiment with more dynamic content delivery, right? Where once you learn, or you don't care to learn, just wiki it. Once you learn what the Exiled Lands are, there's no mystery. The mystery is gone. All of your content it's there. I know exactly when to go and get it. You go and get it and you're done. So it loses a lot of its shine once you play through this. So the learnings, experimentations, and things that we did on Siptah, we're gonna, once we chew through this process, we're gonna see which and if we take them back to the Exiled Lands. And there's some very interesting things that we can do. It's just that right now the attention is on Siptah, and the Exiled Lands as a map is being looked after, but not actively developed, at least for the next couple of weeks.
All right. So what are we going to do for Wild Surge spawn blocking?
What are we going to do, Alex?
Hey, we're talking about some pretty radical ideas. I don't think we can shift some of those radical ideas that you had.
Yeah. This is something we're aware of that happens. There are a lot of spawn points for the Wild Surges, but it is possible, especially on PvE and PvEC servers, to build the Great Wall around them and prevent people from getting inside. So we do want to make sure that Wild Surges, and if you use the building system smartly, that it makes it better. or that you're able not exploit, but use the building system to make it better
gain
to
an
handle.
advantage.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't want people to build rings around content, and then especially if they're offline, that's not great. Where everybody's just waiting outside their base and there's content they want to do, but it's inside there. So we are going to address this. Hopefully, we can get a great solution sometime next week.
Ooh, that's soon.
I know.
Scott.
Yeah,
That's
let's do it.
soon. That's a lot of stuff coming like really, really, really soon down the line. All right. Well, that's something that probably most people know, but it's good to repeat it anyway. Is the Isle of Siptah DLC ownership required, or can we join friends who own it?
You must own the DLC in order to play it.
Yeah. All right. Will Funcom release any new Chrome weapons or features for the Isle of Siptah or in general?
Somebody really likes Crom. This is from Crom's.
Crom's faithful.
Yes.
He likes
They
it.
have their priorities, right?
Yes, we're thinking about it.
Yeah, adding new content and weapons is always something we're looking into. If we add a new landmass, it would probably have new content associated with it.
Ooh, ominous. Will there be a server vibe at the end of early access?
No.
No.
People are always so concerned about server vibes, and we keep saying that. We
Yeah,
don't
I
like
think
server vibes.
Nazi said it a bunch in the chat.
There will be no server vibes.
There will
at the end
be
of our-
no server vibes. You heard it here. We'll clip this and make sure everyone sees it.
To be super clear, we are not wiping all the official servers when Siptah launches.
Yes. Alrighty. Plans to add NPC shipwrecks in Siptah. Potential thralls getting washed up on the beaches. Boarding
So
is asking.
I think Alex sort of spoke about this. We are aware that people are missing camps on Siptah, especially the people that are used to the PvE experience. So we are looking at ways to address what people are missing, whether it's by adding camps or adding something that fulfills the same goal there, which is more of an on-demand content that tells more of a story, more into a handcrafted nature. Well, we are looking into ways to address the likeness on Siptah. But at the same time, we do not want to remove the uniqueness of Siptah and just make it a copy of the Exiled Lands.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that also answers Cyrus's next question. He's asking about thralls falling from the sky from another source. But that goes into whatever we come up with addressing the issue that people think it's too hard to get thralls on Siptah right now.
Yeah, we will continue to address that with hotfixes over the next couple weeks.
There's also a question that is very similar to the ones that have been asked already. Would you consider revising and reducing density of wildlife spawn points on Siptah Island? Actually, they talk about reducing the density of wildlife.
So I think probably the question here is about there are some areas where you walk into, and you get attacked by a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We'll look at feedback as it's coming in. We don't want it to be overly dense, but at the same time, we don't want things to be empty.
Sparse, exactly.
Yeah.
It comes down to balancing everything out, and that's why we have early access and get feedback from players and keep looking at input. All right, what stopped us from upping server population caps with Isle of Siptah?
We wanted to make sure it ran fine with 40 people. So one thing we did actually, I don't know if many people noticed this, but we changed the hard limit in, maybe I talked about this in the stream last week, I can't remember. But we removed the 70 hard cap. So you can actually have a server with up to 200 people now, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about that, no. So it's
you
good
probably
that
have to
mention
host it yourself, since I don't know if the service provider will have something there, but you can go in and manually change it. I would not recommend going above 70, but if you want to be adventurous, you can. I saw some Russian server has like 160 PvP, so we'll see how those run. We need to, we want to make sure the experience is as good as possible for early access launch, though. So we went with a pretty safe number, which is 40. If the servers run perfect after we've done some optimizations and fixes, we could potentially increase it. But yeah, we would make any announcements before then.
Yeah. All right. There's another question that we kind of already answered as well. How would you address PvE players who like to think they just paid for an empty PvP map? I think that goes into what Alex said at the beginning of the stream, that we're looking at all playstyles and trying to find a good balance without really destroying what the core game loop of Siptah is, right? Or the mechanic of Siptah.
Yeah, so there is a lot of PvE content to do in Siptah though. It's not that it's only PvP focused. The map is more conflict focused though, whether it's conflict through fighting or having to negotiate over limited resources. But there still are a lot of vaults, a lot of story, a lot of lore, and other things to explore. The Surges aren't just a PvP mechanic. You can still engage with Thralls through them. Yeah, but we'll continue to monitor and get feedback from people. Yeah.
All right. Now we come into content quality of life questions. Are there plans on improving the user interface, especially for consoles?
Yes, I want to do that. As a console player myself, one of my biggest pet peeves is just when you go and you craft, and if you own all the DLCs, it's a lot of stuff to sift through, and you can't sort. So it's something we're looking into. I actually wanted to do something before Architects of Argos came out, but we ran out of time. So we will look into it. It's not a trivial problem to fix though.
Nope.
Some of it will be addressed by the economy update because we're shifting things a wee bit around. There's going to be a couple more stations here, a couple more stations there. Allows players a little bit more easy time of interacting with all the recipes in the game.
That's definitely making the community happy, because that has been a little bit of a pressure point for a while that we know about as well, that it's really hard to just find recipes and sift through the millions of things you have, especially with the DLCs on top of everything. It's kind of a good problem to have though, because it just means you have so many cool items in the game as well. All right. With the launch of Siptah, do you consider the exiled lands to be content complete?
No.
Never.
Complete. It's a very awkward term for a live
Never.
game.
Yeah, never.
Yeah,
It's just a live game.
As I did say in the last stream though, like we will focus most of our development going forwards on expanding the toolbox instead of just making content specifically for one map over another map. So there will be content on each map to support those features. That's as vague as I can be about it without
committing to anything.
I think it's good. I think it was a good answer though, and I like that. Also, the short answer is really that we're focusing on both the base game and Siptah, and we'll add content to both maps. Are we going to add more admin features like Pippi does?
Doesn't Pippi do that already?
I think Pippi does.
Like Pippi does.
Like Pippi does. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we work very closely with Josh as for support for Pippi. I think it is a great tool, and it does some stuff that we wouldn't be able to do in the base game specifically. So I don't know if we're going to take any features from Pippi and make it part of the base game, especially since they wouldn't.
Josh made them in the first place.
Josh made them.
So it's a bit.
Yeah.
What I would say is, if you would like the admin commands that Pippi has, you should use Pippi.
Yeah, and he deserves, there's a lot of work behind that mod as well. So I think we are not sad about people actually using Pippi, because it's really fantastic. Adds a lot to the Conan Exiles game. Is there any plan to add search functionality for consoles?
Search functionality. I assume this means in terms of
probably, yeah, I think so.
I think I don't know if we'll be able to do search specifically, but I do want us to add some sort of filtering.
Definitely helping with getting around your inventory. Any plans to add exiled lands in exclusive items to Siptah or vice versa?
Exclusive items.
Exclusive is a very strong term.
Yeah, there will be some features and items that will be exclusive to each map. Yeah, so I don't think we'll be moving too much stuff back over. The map rooms don't really make much sense on Siptah. and there's some other things too. But we sort of want to keep there a reason to play on each of the maps, and keep them a little bit different.
Yep. Also, this question is from Otis, and I've seen that pop up quite often in the past as well. Will we be able to let Thralls farm for us like Ark does with their dinos?
So that is that's something people have asked for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
If we did that, it would be part of a much bigger feature.
Ominous answer. Interesting.
Ominous answer.
Chat can take from that what they want. Will we be able to color dye or will we be able to color or dye our horse and rhino saddles in the near future?
We'll have to see why that can be done.
Sure.
It's probably a technical requirement that it can be done right now. I have to double
Yeah.
check. Maybe if we can make it happen technically.
Yep.
We'll have to have a look.
We'll follow up on that.
We'll
one.
follow it up exactly.
Can follow up on that. Yeah. Any chance to add random boss spawns to make the game more challenging and unpredictable? Also an ongoing.
Add random boss spawns to make the game more challenging and unpredictable. When you're harvesting iron and stone, we can spawn a boss monster on you. Yes.
The most inconvenient situation. You're already
I'm an
half dead
avatar.
fighting like.
Oi. Get stomped on.
That's like just random surprise bosses. So that's
mean,
a yes.
That's a yes.
Yeah, yes, we'll summon
Well,
Siptah.
we could-
Summon Siptah.
Mitra to fight in the middle of Siptah.
Yeah, exactly. Yog.
Yeah, I mean we can look into things like that.
This is really more for the unnamed city. I think more interesting. We need
It ideally, yeah, makes sense.
the because the spawns are very static. You almost the monsters we need. Yeah, okay. We'll have a look to make things a little bit more dynamic. Yes, this is one of the learnings from Siptha that is a nice improvement that can happen for the Exile lines, where some of the spawns can be more randomized, so the players are not always fully aware of which boss spawns at which XYZ coordinate.
All right. Ooh, there's so many more questions to go through. Any chances to add more idle animations for NPCs and Thralls?
Idle animations. So there's Thralls. So there are some great mods that allow you to, the RP mods that allow you to do cool, better things with your Thralls as far as interactions. It's something we want to look into. Having them do specific emotes that you're not able, or that the player's able to, but your Thrall's not able to, or having them sit in chairs or other things like that. We'll look into it. The Thrall system and being able to interact with it's one of the really unique parts about Exiles. So yeah, it's something we can look into.
All right. Any chance to improve AI in general?
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
That's one of those ongoing things that we are constantly working on and have been working on. Any chance to be able to use vanity gear without mods?
Vanity gear without mods. What's the definition of vanity gear?
That goes into another thing as well in the next question. Additional character development slots, like for example, like things that you can put in there, or like transmogrify your weapon so it looks different, or like a cloak slot or whatever.
They're asking if you can break the stat from the visuals of
We
the
should
item.
probably do that at some point. I don't know if
Sure.
we have time to do it now, but we'd like in the future definitely consider it.
Yeah, so it would require a pretty big change, I believe, to how we
Yes.
do items right
Yes.
now. So it's
Not
not a
trivial.
simple change. It's something we've spoken about in the past,
Mm.
but it's not something we can commit to right now.
So that was the transmogrify thing. I think the vanity, use vanity gear without mods is more like, can you cover, like for example, you're having metal armor and you have an additional slot and you can add leather armor there and it would take over the actual texture, right?
Right.
It would look like leather armor instead of metal armor.
Yeah, that's
That sounds complicated, especially if it changes the model. Polygons will break, maybe. I don't know. We'd have to look into it. I don't think that's easy.
It's definitely tricky for PvP players as well, because one of the things for PvP is if you see someone come with metal armor towards you, you kind of know what kind of build it might be, right? And if someone actually tricks you into thinking he's something completely different, that might actually cause some issues, I would assume. But yes, I think it's something that we've discussed in the past because it does come up every now and then, but it's very tricky to implement or needs a lot of consideration. Will there be more animations added to the game for item usage?
Baby steps, friends. Baby steps.
We're still at the healing animation part, right? I think potions.
No, it would be great if you could do other things like knock on doors or other animations to increase your interactions with the world. We can look into it.
Make it more immersive. Also, are we planning to add additional chess models? Players really like the new models on Siptah, and they would like it to be like that. You know, the treasure chest models. Have them as actual chests, so they can craft them.
Maybe not those ones, because those are meant to be special.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But one of the things that I would like is to at some point look at is the it's not really a problem. So storage in Exiles, it's a little bit on the boring side, where we haven't paid enough attention to that part of the economy, where we don't quantify the value of people's storage well enough. And this is where we would sort of look into this kind of problem, where we'd have an extension to what the players currently do now, and a little bit more thinking, planning, and preparation to how people build their bases. So if we do something like this will have to come later, but it'll be like as part of a whole package where we touch many more aspects than just adding 1 or 2 boxes.
But to build up that, I know one of the big things people do want is more placeables. They really enjoy that from all of the cosmetic packs that we've released. So we'll look into ways to maybe make some bundles of those in the future.
It sounds good. Do we consider allowing more than 1 active companion at the same time? I think we addressed this in the past, but it's good to go it over again.
That's not to do this, and we've talked about this beforehand. It just needs to be wrapped in a bigger feature.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be something. Yeah, exactly. We would do it as a much larger feature.
Armor for pets when? Wait, what?
Armor for pets when they can figure out how to adjust armor to an existing model skin and then send us their content files. That's when.
Okay.
Was that Scott?
Short and sweet. Also, something I want to pet my animals. They want to pet animals.
You can play emotes. There's not a pet emote.
There's not a pet emote. We should add that though.
Should add it.
What if your elephant is super big? Where do you pet the elephant?
Pat its knees.
You're overthinking it now, Alex. I don't want to know where you pet your elephant. So let's just leave it at that. We're adding, but I think that's important. It's like immersion and it's cute.
Yes.
Like pet animals.
We can figure out how we pet elephants later.
Pet your pets. Yes. All right. Will there ever be a visual update to the Exiled lands to bring it up to par with Siptah?
So one of the reasons Siptah looks good is we have volumetric fog and lighting working. We're probably not going to do that on Exiled lands, so I think it would be too much work. So that won't happen. But no.
We basically have to go back to all of Exile lands and fix all the lights to be able to handle volumetric fog and lighting, which means things like torches and whatever else. It turns into very, very, very big commitment very quickly.
Uses a lot of resources as well.
That day.
Unless everyone gets like their 3080s in soon, RTXs. Will we ever add an option to totally turn off combat music? Oh.
Why would you want to turn off?
I like the combat music. Yeah, but yeah.
Is it too loud?
That's actually a good question though. Like chat, do you think the combat music is annoying? Is that actually a feature that most people want? It's actually interesting. I haven't actually heard that before. It's repetitive. Okay, chat goes, yeah, it's repetitive. I can see that eventually, but
you should just make new combat music.
Sometimes it's annoying. Well, maybe a little bit more different little snippets.
I know when we released Followers 2, there was an issue with always having the combat music go, when stuff was leashing back. I think we fixed a lot of those issues though. But I mean, we can see there's an option to make it trivial.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe it is trivial to put in an option. I mean, yeah.
Will you consider offering up a new tool like mod conflict detector?
Oh,
Hey.
hey. No.
Oh.
So we are well aware that there was some mod compatibility issues with Siptah. I did not think it would be as bad as it was, where it was actually crashing beforehand and causing an error message that was not at all descriptive of what was right. It said you need to basically reinstall, where actually all you needed to do was disable your mod list. We are working on some improvements for the mod system right now.
Just saw a question in chat. So, will you guys decrease the brightness of the underwater stuff in the twice drowned vault? We're actually aware of that. We're just looking into this. That's some kind of graphics bug.
Yeah, I think we need to regenerate logs on an asset.
Yep. So that will be fixed. We are aware of that too. We will look into that. Any plans to rework archery during Siptah early access? Alex?
Considering Scott didn't precisely outline all of the things that we plan to do, I'm a bit hesitant to commit to anything.
Yeah.
But there are things in the combat system that annoy me to no end, and I'd love to make them better. Healing was one of them. I'm sort of, I don't think PC players can imagine what it must feel like for a console player to try to play the old version of the healing system. A very nice experience for them if they had to go and try. So we will be looking at different aspects of combat in the near future to make better.
All right. We have about 10 minutes left. So maybe I'll just look at chat for a little bit as well and fish some questions out there. Crossplay is being brought up again. We answered that early in the stream. Like crossplay between PC and consoles will most likely not happen because that has a lot of technical challenges coming with it. Let me see. Fan and console. Update pet damage. Will you be making Conan VR friendly? Dustin Kellogg on YouTube asks.
Probably not.
Think about that game though. You hold your sword and you literally swing your sword. We don't have to have combos.
Oh, it was Skyrim did that.
That's a fantastic idea.
That would be super challenging. I think like whole Conan Exiles in VR.
I think with Blueprint it'll be fine.
Probably not. I think it would require quite a lot of work to make it VR friendly. There's several things you need to do not to make the player throw up all over themselves. And a third-person game isn't the best for that, so there would need to be a lot of changes.
Yeah, exactly. Elevators. Are we considering making them a bit faster?
Why are your elevators so slow, Alex?
Elevators are so slow. I agree, though. Like, a lot of players are complaining about
magical rope, that magical
you need more hamsters.
That, I'll be rich.
You need more hamsters to power that elevator.
If it got slower with Siptah, maybe there's a bug we could look into. I'll put down a note.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of anything.
We'll look at it. I think they just think in general elevators are a bit slow, but they're slow in general.
There's probably a reason for it, and it's probably so.
Probably physics doesn't launch you into space and
so you don't lose.
Flying in a Mustang out into nowhere. God bless it.
Your followers.
That'll happen for sure.
Funcom, is it known that what is causing some Vault cutscenes to become blue washed?
Vault cutscenes to become blue washed.
I don't think I've heard of that before. Is that something, Chad? Is that something that several of you have experienced?
Do they know which vault it is?
I wonder. I know that. I think there might be. I think there's an issue with one of the cutscenes, but I don't think it's blue washed. Turns haven't experienced that yet. Well, we'll look into it, but that's the first time I've actually heard about that.
I like that comment. The elevator ride is an experience.
The elevator experience. Fixed console. So we mentioned at the beginning that there's a console for a fix for the Xbox Crash is coming, or at least an improvement. We hope, right?
It is in
Scott,
testing
maybe you want to go
now?
into that again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we brought in a bunch of the optimizations from Siptah just to fill in people on Xbox that are experiencing crashes. We brought in optimizations for Siptah. We are currently in testing with QA. Once that is done, we have to submit to Microsoft for certification, and Sony also, so they can get the same thing. And then we will patch. But yeah, it's a process just to get through certification and everything.
Right.
This is one of the nice things about nice, right? It's one of the advantages of having to worry about the PC only. We can get very, very rapid iteration on many of the issues that players experience. Not have to go to first party to get stuff to the players is very, very refreshing in many ways.
Yeah, we can basically just patch whenever we are ready instead of having to a week-long or even longer certification process on consoles every time we'd like to address something. That's actually a question, and I had that on my list too, about reporting players and in general customer support. Maybe you can answer that question, Scott?
Yeah, so we are expanding our community support team and adding a customer support team. I think that one of our new hires started yesterday, so welcome.
Yes.
But yeah, so we'll be using, so looking into, I can't go
Better
into
communication, no,
better
but
communication, looking at infractions a little bit more than we are right now.
wheels are turning.
We are, it's in progress right now, is what I will say.
When will map come to PS4? Again, as we mentioned, early 2021, both consoles. Any chance for alliance system? Oh, we had that question in the past as well. Not sure if you want to quickly go over that. A PvP alliance system.
So you can make bigger blobs. There's pros and cons of it, right? Because at some point you get most of the players on the same server in the same guild, and therefore no one new can contest anything that they do. So it's unlike in some games, we are limited by the number of people on a server. Therefore, not all of the mechanics easily translate across from other genres. We've considered before in the past, and it was not deemed valuable enough for us to chase at that moment. We'll see what happens in the future. If we manage to get Siptah, or if we manage to get our service run with more people, then it's absolutely a consideration.
There's quite a few balancing, like mount balancing and things. Will mounts be revoked or balanced? I think that's just a general answer in regards to like a live game like Conan Exiles has always balancing going on. If we see feedback and we see that something might be out of whack, we'll definitely look into it and it will be addressed. But in general, there's like, as Alex also pointed out earlier, these systems are so intertwined and so complex generally that if you change one thing, the other needs to change as well, right? Maybe you can go into that again if you want, just quickly, Alex.
The healing is a perfect example, right? Where to improve the moment-to-moment experience that players have in healing, we inadvertently removed the spark that made the different foods engaging and meaningful for the players, right? So we have to put that back in another fashion, and that fashion is not going to make them comparable to healing pots or wraps, but they need to have a meaningful place in the ecosystem of features and functionality that the players can engage with, right? Like another example is, why don't your Thralls use potions to heal themselves, right? That is also on the road that I would like us to touch at some point. It's just not quite here yet.
That's a question that we answered a little bit earlier as well. Like for consoles, Siptah is quite a long way. Is there anything going to change in between? Scott, I think, answered that, or Alex? I think it was Scott, that we are planning to add mechanics to both maps at the same time. Or you can go into that again a little bit, Scott.
Yeah, so after what I said earlier is that we're working on basically a version of the Exiled Lands that is currently live on PC right now, without Siptah enabled to patch out on consoles. But we just need time to work on that. So hopefully something in the next month or so, we'll get time to development on it.
Joshua NLG asks, any roadmap plan? It was top like comment on the Reddit QA thread. Well, Scott actually answered that a little bit at the beginning as well. We don't go into specific, or he didn't go into specific details, but there's like 3 big updates planned at least with different content. You wanna reiterate again?
To when the first was sort of planned for, to give people a little bit more of the sugar that they really want.
Sometime in October for the first big patch. As I said earlier, things delay, so don't hold me to it. You're going to hold me to it anyway.
You're going to hold you to it, yeah.
I'll please have this recorded, asking you please not to. So the first big update we want to be in October.
That's planned, but it's software development. There's always things that can go wrong, right? So we're trying our best to hold ourselves to those deadlines. Funcom just joined, but any plans to increase Eldarian drops? As a solo player, it takes me forever to get enough to do anything, and it's needed for so much. That's probably going into the balancing overall thing that we talked about earlier by we don't want to destroy the actual game loop, but adjusting it for specific playstyles. I mean, what are your thoughts on the decaying Eldarium specifically, Alex?
So we have a lot of metrics going out with this DLC also. We're keeping track of the economy relatively well. What it's a kind of worms how we choose to balance this game, because anything that the individual can do is exacerbated by a clan of 10, and then even more so on a high activity server and low activity server. Generally speaking, we aim for a ballpark number where we think a person spending an hour or half an hour amount of time generates X amount of stuff. Therefore, we expect this to be, therefore we expect to have so much over a course of a week, and then a 2-week period, and so on and so forth. We have some expectations. Once people have been playing a little bit more, we will sit down and review the data and then accordingly adjust.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. All right. I think now I see a lot of questions that we've also answered at the beginning of the stream. So I think we are... Yeah, I think we can wrap it up here for now at least. Keep in mind that we will do these again. I think this is a great format for everyone to address concerns, questions that our community has. So we'll definitely do that again. Remember that we will post dedicated threads on our official forums and on Reddit where you can ask your questions for streams like this. Simply because it makes it much easier for us to collect those questions. And we also see a lot of duplicates and things that we don't need to, so we don't have like the same questions 10 times. It's just easier for us to manage everything this way. So Scott, Alex, thank you so very much for your time and for joining me tonight on the stream. Chat, thank you so much for being with us tonight as well, being on YouTube, YouTube, Steam, Twitch, Twitter even, yeah, Periscope, exactly. Thank you so very much for joining us. And we'll do that again as soon as we feel the need to. What was that?
Nothing, don't.
Well, is he talking about touching elephants again? It's about petting the elephants again. Yeah. Let's just leave it here at the touching elephants bit. But also we will have a recap of this, and we will probably clip some of the things that we can share with you guys in case you missed some of the starting questions. So keep an eye on our social media. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, on Instagram as well, Conan Exiles for all of them. Follow us on Twitch to make sure you see when we go live next time, and also subscribe on YouTube as well for our videos. And yes, with that, I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Good night, and thank you so much for joining us. Bye, Alex and Scott. Have a good evening.
Bye. Thanks, Sasha. Where's the button? There it is. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. We're good. You're welcome. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. We can start. I think these are, like you said yesterday, these are a lot easier for you to set up. We don't, need to do hours of footage and videos, and it just takes the three of us sitting down for